recognized.
I move to strike the last word, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, the Interior and Environment Appropriations bill before us today represents an all-out assault on clean air, clean water, and land conservation efforts in our country. To be clear, passage of this measure is an absolute abandonment of this body's responsibility to provide for the general welfare of the United States. This bill seriously undermines the significant advances that we've made as a country as responsible stewards of our land and natural resources, our wildlife, our air, and our water. And perhaps most importantly, this legislation is a threat to the health and well-being of all Americans. Some have argued that the riders attached to this bill are sensible in an attempt to rein in what they call the excesses of the Environmental Protection Agency and job-killing regulations. This is an absurd claim. This legislation is nothing more than a complete caving in to special interests and big oil and some of our nation's worst polluters. For the people I represent, the 1st Congressional District of Rhode Island, the stunning reductions to the EPA and the related policy riders that strike against the gains we've made to clean air and clean water are a threat to public health and the environment. Let me give you one example, Mr. Chairman. According to reports from the Rhode Island Clean Water Action, Rhode Island has the 3rd highest rate of childhood asthma in the Northeast and the 5th highest nationally. The state spends $316 million providing health care for problems attributed to particulate matter every year. What's more, 27,000 Rhode Island children currently suffer from asthma. The average length of a hospitalization stay for children with asthma in Rhode Island is 2 days, with an average cost of $7,840. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle need to realize that the drastic reductions and the anti-environment riders in this bill threaten not only our air and water quality, they'll have real and negative economic consequences on real people, on real families, increasing health care costs, generating additional lost days of work and productivity, and inciting detrimental long-term health and developmental consequences for our children. In addition, this bill slashes vital infrastructure funding that's not only essential to protecting our environment and public health, but also create jobs and support state and local economic development opportunities. This bill sets the Clean Water State Revolving Fund at 55% or $833 million below the FY 2011 level. The bill sets the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund 14% below the fiscal year 2001 level, and that's a cut of $134 million. I'd like to read an excerpt from the 2010 annual report of the Rhode Island Clean Water Finance Agency, the entity charged with administering federal and state programs relating to municipal wastewater and drinking water financial assistance. A revolving fund allows for the perpetual availability of funds to assist local governmental units in meeting water goals by providing loans and other forms of financial assistance. Our primary goals are to provide low-cost means to reduce pollution caused by wastewater, help provide safe drinking water, and to provide low-interest loans to cities and towns to help citizens repair failed, failing, or substandard septic systems. Undeniably, at this moment we're working to rein in our public debt. We have to be smart about the investments we make. Just consider the mission of this state agency, whose efforts are supported through the Clean Water and Drinking Water State Revolving Funds, to provide low-cost means to reduce pollution caused by wastewater and to provide safe drinking water. These are fundamental objectives to safeguard the health and well-being of Rhode Islanders and of men, women, and children all across this country. And what's the response to our friends on the other side of the aisle in this Congress? To cut these vitally important infrastructure programs by more than $1 billion. If this Congress wants to be serious about reining in spending, we can no longer try to fool ourselves with the misguided belief that critical infrastructure projects, especially those supported through state revolving funds that protect our health and environment, are going to miraculously become less expensive with time. Reducing federal funds that help support these kinds of projects to improve our water and wastewater systems will only incite deferred maintenance. Deferred maintenance only makes future projects more expensive, and in many instances will increase the likelihood of infrastructure failures that threaten public health and the environment and impede economic growth. These will undoubtedly cost us more in the long run. Some have called this bill the worst assault on clean air and clean water in history. I strongly urge my colleagues to reject this assault on the health, welfare, and economic vitality of our states, our cities, and our towns. Let us not be known as the Congress who betrayed our solemn responsibility to be good stewards of the earth. I urge my colleagues to reject this bill, and I yield back the balance of my time.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Georgia rise?